Right, people, without further ado, this is the somai Mac. I won't be showing the pictures or the videos of the actual flower because I don't want it to get age restricted. I'm trying to help the algorithm to show the video to more people and grow the channel, so it makes sense to try and do what everyone else is doing and save it for a separate short. So there'll be a link in the description or in the pinned in the top of the comments. I'll decide after I've made the video. But this is just first impressions, just seeing what I think of it and that. So yeah, without further ado, let's get the nose on the opening of the pot, eh? Oh, that ain't too bad. It had a nice earthiness to it when I opened the pot. I'm not really detecting too much limonene or too much sour, which is good for me. Frosty as anything. Oh, mate, I don't know whether other people have just got unlucky or what, because I've got some really nice frosty nuggets of this Mac in here, mate, and they're not little either. They're pretty decent sizes, like medium to a couple of large size nuggets here. I mean, tiny little bit of shake in the bottom of it, but at the end of the day, it's in these big massive pots. It's going to be shaken about a bit and probably fragment some of the nugget up in there anyway, so people need to allow for a little 0.1, 0.2 of dust that ends up getting fragmented off of all the nuggets and that. Like, I'm not complaining about 0.1, 0.2. That looks really nice, mate. I can't wait to share that in the shorts. But it's what it medicates like and what it tastes like that matters for me the most. If it's too limonene and too sour and too lemony, it's not going to get me to sleep. And it's not going to agree with my taste buds and it's going to give me anxiety. So I'll get back to you once I've consumed a little bit of this to try. But I'm very impressed with the smell and the look of it so far. This is right up my alley. It's mainly earth. Mainly earthy smell to it. Hold on, let me crack a nug and see whether it's the gas comes out like the street Mac does that I'm used to. Okay, now I see what people are saying. It's not got that like in your face gas, like the gassy fuel graviness that the Mac from the streets that I know of has. So yeah, it looks the part, and it had a nice earthy smell when I opened the pot, but when I cracked the nugget, it was just still the same earth. Weren't no gravy, gassy, fuely terps like in the description on Medbud. It's way too over dried. That is. I need to do a better job on quality control with the drying and curing of that, mate. Obviously, I used to do my own thing before I got raided, and yeah, that's not been dry correct. That's been over dried, and that's either been dried with heat or dried with lights on or something, and that's just zapped the terps, because this somewhere Mac's meant to be non-irradiated, so they can't even blame that on the radiation of the medical flowers. Well, mate, I hope that this vape's better than what it smells like. No, I mean, like I say, it looks like it's gonna get me to sleep still. It's really frosty. Dense nuggets, but yeah, I was expecting more of a buff in my nose with the terps from this Mac. When I opened it initially, it had a nice little earthy buff to my nose, but then as soon as the pot's been open and I've cracked a nugget, it's not the Mac that I'm used to off the streets, I've got to say. Hopefully it still medicates nicely and it still tastes like what I recognise Mac to be like. I'll get back to you after the consumption. I forgot to say as well, it come up 9.7 as well, so it was a little bit light to what it was supposed to be on the 10 gram per pot. So just being honest, that's what it came as. So you might want to make sure that they come on point as well. But yeah, anyway. Right, I've got to say, after grinding it up a bit, when I opened the grinder, it did have that little bit of that gravy, gassy, mac sort of earthy sort of like smell to it. Still weren't as intense as as like the street mac that I'm used to. Might have been due to the over drying a bit. Can't lie, I had to wrap a little one up a bit just to see how cleanly it was flushed as well as vaping it. And it burns like really clean. It's got like a pretty much white ash to grey ash. The flavour of it, it's a lot better than what it smells like as well. When I consumed it, it's got a little bit of a sourness in the background, but it's just about the level that I can sort of handle. Like, it's mainly earthy, musky sort of like terps, which is what I like. But yeah, consuming it, like, it's gone straight to my head. I can feel it starting to make my eyelids heavy. So I think personally, it's gonna help with my sleep. First impressions when you smell it, like in just nug form, it wasn't really too impressive, other than the first initial boof when I opened the pot and I smelt it, you know. But after I ground it up, like I say, I had a bit more of that. I opened the grinder, I could smell that little bit of a gravy, gassy, sort of like earthy, musky terp to it that the Mac that I know has got to it. Not as intense, like, but when I smoked it, it seems to have quite a full flavour there. It seems to have quite a full flavour, to be honest. It's like, again, it's not got as much cream going on in the flavour as the street mac that I know of. The one I know of is like really meaty, gravy, creamy, gassy, fuely. Slight little bit of sourness to it as well, like what this one's got, but it's not too much that I can't deal with it with my hatred for like high limonene strains. Yeah, so overall, I gotta give that one probably a 7 out of 10. It's not like wow, you know what I mean, but it's not dead either. Like, it smells dead when you smelling a nugget like before you grind it, but it's got a bit more smell to it. When you grind it, you can get that gravy mac sort of like smell to it a little bit more, like that meaty, like earthy sort of like mac, sort of what I know as mac anyway, but not as intense as the street mac that I can get. But yeah, overall, I still think it's gonna be quite an effective medicine for me because it's not too sour like a lot of the street green is that I can get nowadays. It's got a lovely clean ash when I tested it, just to roll in a fatty just to see what it burnt like, so that I can judge how well it's been flushed and stuff. Burnt pretty white, man. It's got like a white to grey sort of like ash to it, man. I'm looking at it now, so can't really complain there. Yeah, like I say, it's up to you guys. If the smell don't really matter too much to you, then you might be good with this one. Like, and if all you're after is, I mean, I can feel it as well, like unseizing my shoulders and unseizing like my neck as well, where I suffer with like arthritis, like symptoms of seized up, clicky shoulders and neck and that. And it seems to be loosening all that up for me better than the Moroccan hash that I've been smoking the past week. Yeah, like I say, you can see the heavy eyelids. I feel like my eyes are starting to get nice and relaxed now. So I think it's gonna help me with sleep, to be honest. So if you suffer from insomnia, I think it might help you, because I think that it's gonna help me. To be fair, I've only smoked half of that fatty and like still got pretty heavy eyelids and a nice heady, like relaxed, like sleepy buzz. Yeah, ain't a heady like energized, like stimulated buzz like haze, like some lemon hazes and shit like that. But yeah, it's a nice heady, relaxed, heady, like stoned head buzz, you know. Like, I can't complain with that, to be honest. I thought I was gonna be disappointed when I smoked it, because from like the smell, when I smelt like the nugget under my nose, like I was like, oh no, like it's not got too much terps to it. But consuming it, I'm getting a pretty full flavour to that when I'm consuming it. Maybe I got lucky and I got a few decent nuggets, because other people were saying the same as me, that they didn't think it had much terps. But like, as I'm actually consuming it, it tastes 10 times better than what it like actually initially smells like when you hold a nug to your nose, and when you grind it, it smells a little bit better than when you like just hold a nug to your nose as well. So yeah, not amazing, but not dead. I'm happy with that, to be honest, because if it's gonna have the effects and the flavour that I need to help agree with me and to get me to sleep and make them eyelids heavy, because they just won't close for me, man. My insomnia just tortures me, mate. Like usually my eyes are just like open and they won't close and my brain won't shut off. But yeah, I think that this is gonna help to get me to sleep. Well, who knows? I might have to give a follow up on the Mac just to see how it helped me, like with the sleep and that. But from the half a jamba that I just chonged, I've got pretty nice head, relaxed stoned bars. I've got pretty nice heavy eyelids, relaxed eyes. So yeah, it gets a thumbs up from me. Like it's not amazing thumbs up. It's not up here thumbs up. It's like just above mediocre. You know what I mean? Like it's because of the fact that I know like how special Mac can be, but that's not dead still at the same time. It's definitely better than a 5 out of 10. Like I say, I'd give it a 7 out of 10 probably. Like if it was more stinky and not as dry, and it didn't have as much of its terps dried out of it, because this is meant to be non-irradiated, so they can't blame it on the radiation. That's been dried too much by the actual grower. So just a word of advice and a bit of constructive criticism from me. I personally would say dry that in cooler conditions. Dry it without no lights on, in complete darkness. It should take about 10 days to 2 weeks, like if you're drying it in the right conditions, and you want it to still have a little bit of moisture and sponginess to it, man. It acts as a moisture barrier to protect the terpenes that little bit more when you leave that tiny little bit more moisture in it. That's why Boveda packs are good for cannabis. You're not meant to just add them after the bud's got too dry, because the terpenes have already evaporated off because of the moisture content has gone down, and then it's got too low. The terpenes just evaporate off of it. From what I'm under the impression of from the studying I've done on it, like it's better to either leave a little bit more moisture in, or as it's drying and it's nearly properly dry and it's still got a bit of stickiness to it, then you jar it up with the Bovedas to finish the curing process until the moisture content is perfect, you know, and then it's the Boveda's moisture that it maintains at that 58% or whatever Boveda that you choose to get. Then that helps act as a terpene protector, because if you've got that extra moisture barrier in your jar, in your bud's environment, which then stops this from happening where a lot of the terps have evaporated off of it from first impressions of smelling a nugget, because it's been over dried and it's been let to dry too much. And once you go past a certain point of dryness, the terps start to evaporate at room temperature. Like, look into it if you don't believe me. Like, I've studied cannabis for over 20 years, probably about 25 years now online and stuff, and like, yeah, that's what I've always come across. So yeah, maybe to the grower, when you're curing this, don't dry it as much. Jar it up while it's still got a bit of stickiness to it, and put some Bovedas in there, man, to try and stop this muted smell when you're just smelling the nugget. Like I say, the terps are still there inside there, obviously inside the nugget, but where it's been let to dry out too much, or maybe from the drying methods, the outside terps are near enough non-existent until you grind the nugget up, you know, and then you get a bit of that gravy, fuely, earthy, sort of like Mac smell. It's not as like boof in your face as like street Mac that I've had. But yeah, overall, I don't know. I don't know whether I'd get it again. I'm gonna have to see how well it helps me sleep tonight. So yeah, I'll give a follow up on this Mac, but 7 out of 10 for effects, 7 out of 10 for flavour, probably about 7 or an 8 out of 10 for the ash. Like, it goes from white to grey in some places. Yeah, so yeah, not a bad strain, to be honest. So yeah, I hope my information from my opinion on it has helped you base whether you're gonna get it or not. it's one of them ones where I'm on the fence with it at the moment, because of, obviously, I know how intense the Mac Terps can be, but yeah, not a bad flavour to it, not a bad effect to be fair, and nice frosty dense nuggets. So if you want to see these nuggets, check the short that I'm going to pin in the description or pin in the comments, and have a lovely day, people. Take it easy.